But the Texans, listen, sure. Does the division go through them? I would say sure. When Deshaun Watson is healthy, they tend to win it. But we're talking about Tom Brady comparisons here. Tom Brady is not breakdancing into the Hall of Fame for rounding up the AFC East title a few times. I say this respectfully and almost as a compliment. I don't care if the Houston Texans win the division. They've gone beyond that. They have now got to the point where, all right, you've done the division thing. You've done the playoff win thing. It's time to do a little bit more, all right? It's time to get to a Super Bowl or at least a title game. Let's face the facts here. They had an absolutely terrible end of the season. Schrager sees a glass half full. I see it completely empty. That was an embarrassing loss. And then they've had a bizarre offseason. But we've seen teams do that before. The Chiefs the year before, the D Ford being offside business and losing at home in the overtime, it was tough. And then they rose up, they did something about it, but I don't really care if they win the division. You know, Nate, I know you're going to get into Deshaun Watson, and we're doing Brady comparisons and Michael Jordan comparisons. Every time Jordan went to the finals, there was always a team in the first or second round, and it was, you know, the Hornets or the Cavs or maybe the Pacers. They were a warm-up series for the big dogs at the end. That's who Houston is right now.
What's going on, Houston, Texas? May 1st, man. I honestly have lost track of the amount of days that we've been quarantined. And honestly, like I told my barber yesterday, if they can just open the gym, I'm good with the way things are. Except for sports. Yesterday I got to counting June, July, August, September. 4 months away from football officially kicking off. That's if it doesn't get pushed back. I've heard people say it can get pushed back to October. Honestly, I just need some type of football. Even now, I was enjoying the freaking Texans versus Panthers game from this last season. And you know how bad we stunk that game. So that should tell you a lot about how much we miss football, man. But today we're here to talk about the Brandin Cooks press conference that he had, where he discussed a lot of things, and we're gonna get right into it, man. But first off, man, welcome to the channel. If you're new to the channel, subscribe, like, place a comment, and if you're here just to spread negativity, it ain't never gonna get to me, man. Because at the end of the day, I don't do this to get paid. I do this for the fans. I do this for me. And at the end of the day, I say when it go and it stop. And that's the bottom line, man. Right off the bat, man, Pancakes did not fail and went straight in and asked Brandin Cooks, what does he think about being able to replace the work that DeAndre Hopkins left here. And, man, Brandin Cooks got right into it. I did like his answer because at the end of the day, like we've said many, many times before, there's no one that's going to replace what DeAndre Hopkins did. And honestly, I think we're going to see a lot more balls where people just don't seem to really attempt to reach for the football just like DeAndre Hopkins did. I can't tell you the amount of freaking slides that he had to do in order to catch balls that any other type of receiver just is not even going to attempt. And that to me was the one thing that I felt like was not going to be able to be replaced, because you don't see that many wide receivers that are willing to do that. In this draft, the one receiver that was willing to do that was Higgins. And obviously with us trading that second round pick and getting Brandin Cooks, you know, we gave up on trying to get a wide receiver that was going to even try to replace DeAndre Hopkins. It's very obvious and clear that what Bill O'Brien wants to do is he wants to make sure that Deshaun Watson reads the coverage and he spreads the ball. Thing about that is when you start to review film and you start to look at past games, there was times where you weren't moving the ball, and if it wasn't for a catch that DeAndre Hopkins did for you, you probably would have never even moved the ball on that particular drive or even in that game. So very interesting to see, and I think that's what everyone is looking forward to. Look, it looks great on paper. At the end of the day, though, if the play calling does not match, it's really going to be for nothing. The Houston Texans are not going to be the first team to load up on weapons and squander it. It's been many teams who've done that, and just because you do it, it doesn't necessarily mean that the chemistry is going to be there. It's something that they have to work at, and that's one of the things that Brandin Cooks addressed in this press conference, the importance of that. But anyways, man, let's listen to this first answer on replacing DeAndre Hopkins.
I think, just being brought in general, as far as specifics, being brought in for a guy like DeAndre Hopkins or anything like that, I wouldn't necessarily say that. You talk about a great player that's played a lot of great football in his years as a Texan. I'm just looking at it from a standpoint to just coming in to help the team win as best as I can. So that's the way that I look at it. As far as the concussions, I'm doing great, and I look forward to playing football, So that's all I can say about that.
Now, and that's the part that I did forget. He also asked him about the concussions. Now, as you guys know, Brandin Cooks, the reported concussions that's been reported has been a count of 5. I think Seth Payne from Sports Radio 610 the other day, when I happened to tune in after the Brandin Cooks press conference, just to kind of get a hint of what they were feeling, he to me did an excellent point and a perfect point of view that I don't think a lot of people are looking into, and I think a lot of people downplay with the concussion. First, we've discussed on this channel that having a concussion is no joke. Like, the amount of trauma that you get from that. Look at the most recent retirement for the Texans. CJ Fedorowicz, after 2 or 3 reported concussions, he was out, ready to call it quits. That's before he even, being able to bag onto a bigger contract. So, look, at the end of the day, you got to look at it this way. And he brought this point up, Seth Payne did. Concussions, for instance, one of the concussions that Brandin Cooks suffered when they talk about missing games, one of them was in the Super Bowl. So there was no other game after the Super Bowl. And so what happens with going into the offseason is you can't really accurately calculate how many games he would have missed had that been a regular game. Of course, the other concussion, he missed most of that game plus the next game. So you also got to take into consideration that, like finishing the game. But, when it comes to concussions, man, that's one thing that we're watching for. I don't want anyone to downplay that more than what it really is. Look, he's missed 2 games, but let's be honest, would he have missed more had one of those games not been the Super Bowl, right? Anyways, let's get right into the next question.
Aaron Wilson?
Brandon, welcome to town. You have a good background with some of the folks here, including Jack Easterby. You can tell us about your relationship with him that you formed in New England and just kind of, you guys now being reunited with the Texans, your thoughts on his role in up in this upcoming past. Yeah, I can't say enough about a guy like Jack Easterby and what he's meant to me in my life. Just in that 1 year that I got to know him while I was in New England. He's a special human being, not just for me, but for my family. And to be reunited is definitely a blessing. I look forward to it just because you talk about a guy that holds you accountable at a high standard. Those are the type of guys that you want to be able to work with and know that are going to hold you to that accountability every single day. So, gosh, I love Jack, and I look forward to being back with him.
So they're asking him about Jack Easterby and his relationship with him. It's not no freaking secret that Jack Easterby was often, every morning, retweeting Brandin Cooks' morning scripture and meditation. So it's no secret that Jack Easterby had a lot to do with bringing Brandin Cooks in. It's no secret that the Rams had more trades available, and they actually gave Brandin Cooks an option as to where he wanted to go without really sacrificing the compensation that they would get back, which means that there could possibly have been a number 1 pick out there in the table for the Rams that maybe just Brandin Cooks did not feel like that was the right fit for him. So look, that to me is the good part of Jack Easterby, that he has that weight with certain players that have been, and maybe the New England regime, right? Because I can't really remember what other team Jack Easterby was with before New England. I have to look it up. I'm not too sure if it was the Chiefs or the Browns. Well, one of those 2 teams. And, the influence that he has will bring in certain players because he is a character coach, because he is more like a motivator, right? When players are feeling down, he's the guy who's there motivating them to improve, to get better. He is like the good cop, and Bill O'Brien is more like the bad cop when it comes to these situations. And it's very obvious that Brandin Cooks chose to come to Houston because Jack Easterby was here. The other curious thing, though, is that Nick Caserio not coming to be the GM for the Texans, to me, that was really, really on the wall, and for some reason, it did not happen. So that's interesting to see. I don't know really what fell through there, but I do know that obviously Jack Easterby is very well loved within the players that have met him, because he's a guy who I guess is looking at someone and constantly motivating them. And, you know, for some players, that's a good thing. For some players, it's not a great thing, because some people will take advantage of that, and some others will take that and actually will be the, what can I say, the Band-Aid that gets them to fully commit. Obviously, this also brings up other questions like what is this now the regime, the obviously the new regime that Bill O'Brien has with building new culture that he wants set, where before maybe with different GMs and different people handling contracts, he wasn't able to do so because he wasn't able to get rid of what he doesn't like, right? Obviously, him and DeAndre Hopkins didn't have no relationship, came out with Sports Illustrated. So, hey, right there, that's one. Jalen Strong. I mean, just completely, you can look up down the rap sheet of that. A bunch of players that Bill O'Brien just has not got along with, does not like, and if he doesn't like you, you're pretty much gone. Look at Deshaun Gibson. He's the most recent person to go under that execution, I would say, because how do you bring in a guy for a 3-year deal, only watch him play for a year, then cut him? You know, same thing happened with Colvin, although to me, Colvin was most deserved because he just wasn't the signing that everyone expected him to be. You know, so now Deshaun Gibson has signed a 1-year deal with the Bears. So obviously we have to rule out injury because obviously the Bears felt like the dude is going to play this year. If they had given Deshaun Gibson a 2-year deal or a 3-year deal, then I would say, oh, maybe they're going to wait a year for him to heal and then finally bring him back. But if they're giving him a 1-year deal, it's because Deshaun Gibson is ready to play today. And so, you know, it's just what it is. That's what we're going through right now. Bill O'Brien is trying to build his culture, which is we're going to collectively win these games and there is going to be no star. So that's going to be very, very interesting to see. I remember one of the first things that Bill O'Brien changed when he first started coaching the Houston Texans. They used to introduce the star players, right, one by one. So I believe that 2014-2015 season, he had everyone just running out at the same time. I think recently that has changed because I think from the last few games that I've been at home, they have rolled one by one. So, you know, maybe he's gotten a little leeway there, but you could definitely see that he's all about the team, like he spells it out.
Adam Wexler?
Hey, Brandon, welcome to the Texans. Two things. What would you say about why things went the way they did last year in your final year with the Rams? Just production was so far down for you. And then have you had a chance to talk with Kenny or Will or the rest of the group of receivers that you'll be working with?
Absolutely. You know, to answer your first question, I think there's a lot of nuances that was going on last year, not just for me, but just from a team standpoint. You know, we had a lot going on. You know, at the end of the day, I dealt with some things, you know, on the field, and but that does not go to show what type of player I am. The production that I've been putting in year and year out since I've been in the league, that was just one of those, you know, off years. But you know, it comes with the game. But that definitely is not the you know, trend that, you know, you should be looking for me as a player. And have I talked with Kenny and Will? Absolutely. You know, we've been meeting in our Zoom meetings as a team, but just on the side is texting to both of them. Two great guys. You know, I played with Kenny my first year in the league, and so yeah, you know, they're doing a great job of just helping me along the way, and I appreciate it.
One thing I had totally forgot was that Kenny did start his career with the Saints. And obviously Brandin Cooks did as well, so they obviously shared a year there. I don't really think it maybe that year was enough for them to build that type of brotherhood. But I can definitely see that they know each other, they know of each other. So shout out to Kenny Stills, man, for doing his part. I feel like that's the part that also leaves a void with DeAndre Hopkins, who is going to step into the receiver room and really put, you know, their shoulder, I would say maybe their arm around someone's shoulder and say, hey man, let's go and let's keep grinding. I mean, like I said, to this day, man, the last day that DeAndre Hopkins was here in Houston, man, look at the training team that he had in Houston. He gave that training team to Will Fuller. Now Will Fuller is out here with that same guy training. He now has, I've seen now Thomas, our tight end, has been out there reportedly with Fuller working out with the same guy. Kiki has been out there. And then just recently, I just saw Kenny out there working out with Fuller. So, hey, man, whoever it is that needs to step up in this wide receiver room, let them step up in that way, because that is another huge void that I feel like is being left off from the Texans. It just wasn't being about that action out on the field, but also in the practice, putting in work in the offseason. And that's what I feel like was the last nugget that DeAndre Hopkins left for this organization, because ultimately he loves this organization. He loves Houston, still considers it one of his favorite places and his home, and will forever be his home. And man, all he wants to see is this team succeed. And I would say he's not really the only player that has left here, and ultimately still secretly wants to see this team succeed and this city, you know, celebrate a championship. I mean, when the Astros won, I believe every sport celebrated like they had won, because it's that big and it's not that common for the city of Houston. Call it what you want to call it, curse, whatever you want to call it. But man, we just don't win as much as, for say, Boston wins. So it is what it is, man. But it's a good thing to know that he's already been reaching out, and that, you know, he people and teammates have welcomed him in, because you definitely don't want to make him feel like, you know, you're the reason that DeAndre Hopkins got traded. Brandin Cooks is not the reason DeAndre Hopkins got traded. Bill O'Brien is the reason DeAndre Hopkins got traded.
Hi, Brandon. Welcome to the Texans. We've seen you play over the years with different teams, but what do you think you can bring in particular to this Texans offense?
You know, for me, I think first off, there's a lot of speed on this offense already. So usually I can say that, but you got guys that are able to go to top off from every single position in this offense. But I think from a bigger standpoint, just a leadership role, just the way that I go about the game and my process, just being a veteran voice in that room, you know, with special guys that's all the way around. You know, I've been blessed and fortunate to play with such special quarterbacks. You know, I look forward to just sharing that knowledge that I've learned from them with guys in the locker room.
One thing he did hint there is saying, look, we have so many weapons. I'm so used to being the one speedy guy on a team. Now we have speed on every position. So he's looking forward to, you know, being able to scheme mismatches, because maybe you won't be able to double team everybody. Because everyone has that type of speed, and if you double team one person, you're going to get super toasted on the other side. So that, I think, is what not just them as wide receivers are looking forward to, but us as fans are looking forward to, because it's like you have all this speed, so it's like, don't waste it, bro, because the potential is infinite. But at the end of the day, like I've said before, we haven't been the first team to stack up this much talent and not being able to put it together, you know, so interesting to see.
Hey, Brandon, you've obviously been on a few teams that had the chance to adjust to multiple quarterbacks. What goes into just kind of establishing chemistry with the guy, and what are the challenges you're going to face this offseason specifically, given kind of the constraints?
You know, I think the biggest thing is first and foremost learning what I need to do in the offense, and learning the playbook, where to line up, and the process on how they go about things. And as far as gaining that chemistry with the quarterback, a new quarterback, I think that's cut on whenever that may be, whenever we can get together and throw. But not just that, from this time when we're doing Zoom meetings, you know, asking Deshaun what he's looking for, what does he like to see from his receivers, what is he seeing in this defense in the way that he likes to throw things. So, you know, we'll still be able to do that from that aspect. And from the physical aspect, there's going to come a time and place, and I'm sure we'll pick it up pretty fast.
So quickly, from what I got from there is, look, the guy's already got with Deshaun Watson. He's already trying to get a feel for what his quarterback likes, trying to bring, like I said, trying to build that chemistry, and that's a good thing. Brandin Cooks, that's very, very wise. but I think it also comes with him being around different teams and understanding that you gotta adapt, you gotta be quick on your feet, no pun intended. And so all he's really just mentioning is saying, look, I just want to know how I'm gonna be used in this team, what the playbook is. So I find it interesting, but I guess O'Brien really wasn't in New England when Brandin Cooks was there, so I can see how the playbook is different. But yeah, man, I mean, look, using Brandin Cooks, the good thing about Brandin Cooks, when you look at the tape, you can use him on short routes, intermediate routes. You can put him in the slot. You can put him on the outside. So much that you can use him in. But I feel like we've had that before with other players where you can use them everywhere. And besides DeAndre Hopkins, we haven't really used everyone in that way. Some of it is because they've been hurt. Some of it is just because we're so inconsistent in the coaching position and in game calling. And we don't really adjust in game. Like, look at Kansas City. Like, we were getting blown. Like, you could not make one adjustment, not one stop on defense. Like, that's horrible. Look at the Panthers game. Like, no adjustments. Like, no in-game adjustments. And that's one thing that Bill Belichick is so great at. And I just feel like when it comes to Bill Belichick's coaching tree, like, Bill O'Brien is so far from the tree because he doesn't seem to have that in him. I mean, Matt Patricia, you've seen him on a sideline halfway, during halftime writing notes, trying to make improvements. Bill O'Brien, nope, more confused than ever. Got to call a timeout just to think about what the hell is happening on the field. Like, very, very slow to react, and I think that's what really hurts Bill O'Brien on the long run.
Hey, Brandon, welcome to Houston, man. I just wanted to ask you from standpoint of these Zoom meetings, man. What are the Zoom meetings like? I mean, I know you've changed teams, but this is the first time where you're changing teams and the way you're introduced to your teammates is through this sort of platform. What is it like for you to change? And then from a physical standpoint,
This dude needs to upgrade internet fast.
what are you doing to stay in shape during the point?
Well, I guess the great thing is from the Zoom part, we're all dealing with that part. But, it's pretty similar as if you're in a classroom, just you're not physically there. But they do such a great job from a coaching standpoint of elaborating and sharing the screens. So, being able to put a voice to a face is still there, just not physically. And then from a physical standpoint, I'm working out every single day. I have a gym in my garage. And the most important thing is whenever we are able to go back, I think the biggest thing I tell guys is just be in shape. Not taking this time as a time to relax or to sit back, just because you never know when we're able to get back out there as a team. So you want to be prepared.
So right there, he's talking about Zoom meetings and not really being any different than being in a classroom. But I think the one thing I do want to get from that particular answer that he's given about working out is, he's saying, hey, let's not wait until last minute. Let's not sit on the fence thinking that maybe there won't be a season, so why even start training? And I want to commend not just Brandin Cooks, obviously, but many of the Houston Texans players who have been out there grinding, not just since the beginning of April, but way before then, grinding. And you want to see that hunger from your team because coming from the loss like you did with the Chiefs, like, you shouldn't take that lightly. You should see that and see, bro, we need a lot of work. There's a lot of things that we need to do to improve. And it starts with me, like Bill O'Brien says, right? And so, you've seen Justin Reed out there, Will Fuller, Kenny Stills, Charles Omenihu. You've seen J.J. Watt out there, Kiki QT, Jordan Thomas. I'm trying to make sure I don't miss no one. Putting out their work. And so, Brandin Cooks is just joining the group and saying, hey, man, we're not trying to be stagnant. We're trying to do something special this year, and we got to put the work in. We can't wait till last minute to make all our adjustments. We got to do what we can do now, and let's work out.
Brandon, welcome to Houston. Do you think that Deshaun Watson, not only do you have Kenny Stills and around you, they're deep threats, but do you feel like Deshaun definitely helps your skill set, not only with you running the deep ball, but you're going to be able to at least run some different routes, not being the only deep threat on the roster?
Yeah, I mean, when you look at a guy like Deshaun and just watching him from a distance and now watching film on him now that I joined the team, the guy can throw every single ball. that you look at and you're like, okay, what can this guy not do? And you can't answer that, because he makes every single throw. So I look forward to that from that standpoint, and just being able to clash with the other guys like Kenny and Will and Randall and Kiki and DC. So to just being able to come together as a group and just be the best group that we can possibly be.
I almost totally forgot about Randall Cobb, that he was even on this team. So right now, when he mentioned all the receivers down to Kiki, completely forgot that Randall Cobb was on this team. And like I said, man, when you think about all the weapons that you have, look, Pat is saying, dude, how good does it feel that you ain't got to be the only one that can run a 9? That they can make, on one play, make Fuller be the one to run the 9, or they can make Kenny Stills be the one to run the 9, or Randall Cobb be the one to run the 9, and then have you guys be the ones running intermediate routes, with the threat of possibly being the one running the 9. That opens up possibilities like no other. But at the end of the day, the offensive line got to hold up and got to give Deshaun Watson Tom Brady time. Talking about 5 to 8 seconds to throw. Then Deshaun Watson got to make the proper read. And then then at the end of the day, it also falls down on game planning, man. How good are these plays against this defense that you're playing? Because at the end of the day, if they're prepared for you, like, for instance, the Panthers defense was with you, when you try to get cute and have DeAndre Hopkins throw a freaking flea figure from the side, like, if teams are going to be prepared for you, it doesn't matter what you try to do. Because, like, the Chiefs, for instance, before they even got to the Super Bowl the year before, everyone knew they were going down 9 with freaking Tyreek Hill, and they knew how to cover it. And so that's the things that O'Brien has to manage, that Tim Kelly has to manage, and everyone is expecting to see that and hope they can take advantage of it.
You played with some really good quarterbacks in Tom Brady and Drew Brees, Hall of Fame quarterback. Do you see that same characteristics or traits in Deshaun Watson?
Oh, no question. I mean, the hard thing right now is I'm watching everything from, virtually. I'm not able to get there in person and really get that feel. But, you talk about from a film standpoint, like I said, what throw can he not make? He makes every single throw just like those guys. And just from a little bit that I'm gaining from him, that his process and his hunger and his drive and dedication is there as well. And that's what I learned from those guys and seen from them every single day. So I look forward to getting with him in person and really, see that, come alive.
And one thing, man, you got to give credit to Deshaun Watson, because even with inferior talent on the Texans team, he still took Brady down to the wire in multiple games, including last year's game where we would actually blowed him out with Tom Brady, being in Deshaun Watson's position where his talent on wide receiver were inferior, and now Deshaun Watson had a better wide receiver talent than Tom Brady had, and you saw what he did with that. And look at Breeze going week 1. Kenny Stills, fairly new to the roster. Laremy Tunsil, fairly new to the roster. Duke Johnson, Carlos Hyde, fairly new to the roster. And we still should have won that game, really, if it wasn't for defense and Aaron Colvin. So, when it comes to that, that's what they're talking about. I know a lot of people get upset because they're like, oh, he hasn't won the rings to it. Fair enough, he has not won the rings. But when he's faced them face to face, he has not backed down. He has not looked like the inferior quarterback that day. And that's what people are talking about. The dude is confident as heck, cool, calm, and collective. And I'm glad that Deshaun Watson is on the Houston Texans as our QB.
So it looks like we have 2 more, so then we'll wrap it up. Adam Wexler.
Brandon, your initial conversations with Coach O'Brien, what have those been like? And what have you gotten out of hopefully getting a chance to talk with Coach Kelly as well?
First and foremost, you talk about coaches that have a lot of energy, and talking to Billy O, I got on the phone with him. I felt like I wanted to run through a brick wall. I just can't wait to get out there on the field with a guy like that. The same thing with Coach Kelly, just through the process of our meetings. But as far as the particulars, we'll just keep that to ourselves.
Couple of things from that answer. Off the bat, right, saying I'm not going to give you too many details. I'm going to keep that to myself. That's the New England culture to the T. That's what they want. Look at the way that DeAndre Hopkins now interviews post-Texans to how he was interviewing with the Texans. That'll tell you everything you need to know as far as what they expect. You can go to Hard Knocks, where Bill O'Brien's at the podium trying to tell the players how to answer the media and how not to talk about other players and just talk about what they can control about getting better and certain aspects in certain ways. And, that's what Brandin Cooks does here. He's obviously saying that, that the way that O'Brien tells him about how he's going to use him excites him, wants to run through a brick wall. Please don't run through a brick wall. We can't afford for you to have another concussion. Please don't.
Brandon, for a lot of success, you've had to switch teams a lot and been traded. Why do you think that is? Because you've always, been so productive on the field, with the exception just of last year where there were some circumstances. But why do you think you've been traded as much? And also, if you could tell us about your nickname, the Archer, how you came to have that nickname, and also just where you feel like your speed comes from, your background in track and all those sorts of things.
Yeah, that's a great question. The way that I look at it, I take it as a positive, and that I want it, and that I'm valued, at a high level still to this day. You look at all the trades, they all went for a first round, and this one going for a second round. To be honest with you, I'm blessed to be and play with so many different teams and different quarterbacks and different organizations. And for me, I don't look at it as a negative at all. I look at it as, teams want me, and former teams feel like, man, gosh, this is such a great deal for both sides. It's a win-win. So I don't think of it as a negative. I look forward to it. I'm a guy that adjusts pretty quick, and wherever I go, like I tell people, I'm going ball. So I'm not worried about that. And for my nickname is just, for me, my favorite Bible verse is Psalm 144:6. Send forth lightning, scatter the enemy, shoot your arrows around them. So for me, it's another way to glorify God, go out there and play, and just come up with a unique way to be able to glorify Him.
I think the last part of the question was where your speed came from in your track.
And then, thank you. And then as far as my speed, I like to think it came from when I was young. I remember racing my dad from across the street to the garage. And it was one of those things that, a lot of people say, were you born with it? I would say it was a little bit of both. I had to work to really get that elite speed. I remember friends growing up that were actually faster than me, and they peaked at a certain time. For me, I felt like I also had to put that work in to become fast, and I was running track since I was 7 years old, all the way through high school, even my freshman year of college. So I think it's just the journey and the process of track that helped me build that speed.
Awesome.
I straight up can relate to that. I was never really the fast kid on the field, but when I did get fast, it's because I actually did put in the work. I was never ever really slow, but when I ended up putting more work in, and those track exercises really help you, the constant running and trying to beat your time and certain exercise with your legs that'll get you to really hit the ground running. They really do help. So I could definitely relate there. As far as the Archer name, I would have never, I don't know why I never thought that it was going to be something related to scripture with him. I always thought that it was, because he was fast and, like an arrow, going through the field. And then the first thing that he talks about there with not being, not really caring that teams traded him, he doesn't see that as a negative. He sees that as a positive, because at the end of the day, they're giving up good value for him, and both teams are winning, and he's going to ball regardless of what team he goes to. That makes me a little bit cautious, because at the end of the day, it feels like he doesn't care if even the Texans decide to trade him for some value, because like he says, he's going to ball wherever he wants to. So interesting to see if this is another one of those test and trial thing for the Texans. Deshaun Gibson was obviously that. Aaron Colvin was obviously that. What other wide receivers we've had that have been that way? Not any that I can think of lately, unless they trade Kenny Stills, which I hope they don't. I hope that rumor is freaking false. But yeah, man, interesting to see what he'll do out on the field, man. But it looks like he's excited to play for the Houston Texans organization. And yeah, man, let's see what this last question has to say.
Last one for John McClain.
Brandon, you mentioned quarterbacks you played with. You played with Breeze, Brady, and Goff, and now
I mean, come on now. You tell any receiver that they get to play with those four quarterbacks, I'm pretty sure they wouldn't complain at all. You know, I learned something from each one of those guys, and I'm extremely blessed to be able to implement that, not just into my game, but also my process and how I go about my everyday life on and off the field.
So yeah, man, that's the wrap of that interview, and I like the fact that he doesn't really talk smack about other teams, even though I feel like he could have the opportunity to do so. As you guys know, the Rams don't like to pay their players. You got Clay Matthews suing the Rams because they haven't paid them. I can't remember the other player that came on Pat McAfee's show and said the Rams hadn't paid him yet. I want to say it's Gurley. So, you know, the Rams are obviously cheap. There's a reason they didn't want to continue to pay, the Archer here and decided to trade him. So, look, that's sometimes what happens in business. Like, you know, you just don't have the space to pay them, and they got to go. Some teams manage it better than others, for instance, the Patriots, and some other teams don't. And so it really just comes down to the organization. So I really, really hope that he pays out for the Texans, man. The talent and the potential is there. We just got to maximize it, right? And is this team a team that can maximize what they have this year? Most people will say the Texans are a team who are all in right now. I feel like we've been saying that for the last couple of years, and it's now time for it to play dividends. We're tired of giving O'Brien plenty of excuses. I feel like the excuses are done. They've been done. It's now time to deliver for the city, and the city needs it, man. The city needs a championship from its football team. We couldn't get one with our prior organization. We haven't been able to get one with this one. And, man, the fans is all they're really, you know, aching for. A championship on the football field. Look at the Roughnecks. Look at how people were gravitated towards that team because they were winning. They were undefeated. And if it wasn't for this damn Rona, the XFL probably would still be going on. And, you know, maybe we would have been able to host a championship here with the team that's hosting it in the bowl for the XFL, and that would have been something great to see. But hey, man, now the Texans got to pick up the slack, and they got to go out there and do what they are planning to do on paper and actually do it on the field, man. But anyways, that's my spill. You guys enjoy this weekend. We got another video coming out tomorrow, coming out on Sunday, and coming out on Monday. You guys comment down in the comment box what you guys would like us to, or what player you guys would like us to do a Tuesday tribute to. We already did Andre Johnson last month, so, you know, give me some ideas. What player would you like us to give a tribute to on this channel, of course, that has played for the Houston Texans, and we'll make it happen, man, and you'll guys be able to enjoy that. But anyways, man, y'all be safe, enjoy it, be blessed.